Hello and welcome to the Medical Affairs Dialogues. In this episode, we are going to explore how, when insights are brought in from the field, can shape strategy and thereby demonstrate or deliver measurable value. It's an honor to absolutely introduce our guest today. Our guest for this episode is Dr. Hahn-Ey Lee. Welcome to the episode, Honey.
Thank you so much, Bharati. I'm very happy to join your podcast, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to my audience. Honey is a female urologist who is a medical affairs leader in pharma as well. She was the first one to launch a Pfizer Japan asset ahead of US and Europe. She's an expert in change management, crisis management, and team empowerment. She has global experience across Korea, Japan, and US. Thank you, Honey, for being a part of this episode. And if you're okay, then I want to start the episode right away.
Thank you so much. Very happy to do so. Let's proceed.
Yeah. So without any further delay, let's start this episode. Our topic for today is Insights Management 360, connecting field, strategy, and impact. Before we go any further, Honey, I want to ask you, how did you create this global, beautiful, stellar career? What challenges did you face and how did you navigate through them?
Sure. So I've been very lucky to meet very nice people, very wonderful supporters, very great mentors in my career. So I have been working I started out in Korea as an individual contributor, so I gained hands-on experience. And as I grew in my roles in terms of senior leadership, I got more responsibility, which led to a very challenging launch situation in Japan. And I was very lucky. I was very fortunate to have already obtained the trust of the organization to lead the team through those challenges. And then, because we were successful, it led to more roles of increasing importance. And likewise, when there were challenges, I always wanted to look at those as opportunities, and we did transform them into successful opportunities as well. And that led to more opportunities to be in more challenging situations, which we always made successful. So I was very fortunate to have a journey in which I was pushed out of my comfort zone, and that brought me with more opportunities, more responsibility, and also more successes. And I've been very lucky to have met wonderful people who've helped me and helped themselves to grow. And I think that, whatever success anyone has, it's not an individual contribution. You have to really have good team members. And I've been very fortunate in that aspect. And just to end that as well, for people who are looking for opportunities to grow in the organization, my recommendation would be to try to find challenging situations where you can grow, and also ensure that you have people who can support you through that journey.
Very, very beautifully put. I hope you understand you are a role model for so many. And this discussion actually is very, very important, but we'll take it some other day. We'll absolutely dive into the curated list of questions that I have for you today. I think our topic for today is very, very interesting, very relevant for medical affairs professionals. So, Honey, help me set the stage and set the context and foundation of our discussion. My first question is, how do you define insights in the context of medical affairs, and why is managing them effectively so critical today?
Sure, sure. So in medical affairs, insights should be actionable observations, and these should be derived from interactions with healthcare professionals, patients, and other stakeholders. So I think that what we want to be cautious of is just to look at insights as of things that are not alive, right? But we want to make sure that they're connected to actions and strategies. So unlike raw data or anecdotal feedback, insights provide strategic intelligence that informs decision making across clinical, medical, and commercial functions. So managing insights effectively is critical due to the increasing complexity of healthcare ecosystems, and also the need for evidence-based decision making in drug development and commercialization. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're managing these insights appropriately. And it's because the growing role of medical affairs helps shape the scientific narratives and addresses unmet medical needs. So as we move forward, these insights should be evolving as time goes by, should be well curated, well stored, and everyone should have a common understanding of where they are and how they can be used.
Yeah, this is so powerful. My next question is something I think in your career you must have encountered, and I, in my professional consulting career, I'm always encountering and thinking about this. And that's why I'm presenting this question to you. How do you really recognize an insight? You must have dabbled with that so many times with your MSL team. So my question is, how can MSLs and field teams ensure that they are capturing meaningful insights during KOL engagements, not just observations or anecdotal inputs? I know I've done so many training sessions for MSLs, and we have so many exercises that we do, but I want to know from a leader like you who is doing this and seeing it every day, how do you really recognize and capture an insight?
Sure, sure. And I think that I will explain how we can do that and also maybe some discussions about what is a true insight as well. So in order to ensure meaningful insights to be captured during KOL engagement, so MSLs and the field teams and also the colleagues in the medical affairs office as well, we want to make sure that we have very robust pre-engagement planning. So we define the key objectives and questions before interactions and we come well prepared. And I think that what I've been consistently emphasizing is the importance of active listening and probing. So we want to go beyond surface level observations and really ask strategic questions. So oftentimes people may just try to convey or educate data, but then you will not really be able to answer, to gather the insights that are important. So for example, if we're launching a new asset, it's not as if we're just presenting the safety and efficacy profile, but you may want to ask the doctor specifically, what is your understanding level of our asset? What kind of data would you like me to share? What aspects of the efficacy data do you want to have more explanation of? Or what aspects of the efficacy data do you have any concerns of? And if so, how can we help you mitigate those concerns? So it's a very ongoing discussion where we ensure that we're asking very targeted questions and gaining strategic input. Oftentimes, very excellent colleagues want to share and educate, but we want to strike a good balance. And also, once we've gathered those valuable insights, we want to make sure that we have the standardized documentation. And that is also a challenge because even within an organization, one team may have a different way of writing an insight. So we want to make sure that they are standardized, and using structured templates could help differentiate insights from general feedback. And cross-functional collaboration is also a key through discussion and alignment with internal teams to ensure that insights are relevant and actionable. What I've noticed in my career is that sometimes insights do not evolve. So a very simple example, let's say, when we had an asset that the doctors had concerns about on year one, it was the doctors have concerns about potential infection. And then there was not a lot of actions taken after that. So year two, it was the same. The doctors are still concerned about infection. So, when I came in, we sat down and we asked the doctors, so if you're concerned, does this impact the way you treat patients? Do you need guideline updates, or do you feel that this certain data would be helpful? How can we help you mitigate those concerns? Or, is there any way we can collaborate? And then after that, our insights became more detailed and more specific, and they evolved as time went by. And then those concerns were mitigated. So then at a certain point, it was, okay, now that we're managing infection, how can we maximize our utilization of this asset? So we want to make sure that we're being very active and proactive as well to make sure that our activities are really improving the strategies that will lead to improved patient outcomes.
Yeah, very beautifully narrated. So you are essentially saying, don't just dump information to your HCP, be more conversational, understand what they need, the unmet needs, and then kind of cater to what it is so that it's like It's not just a technical process of, okay, give me the information, I'll capture it and put it. No, try to kind of evoke communication. And then it's also kudos to the to team leaders like y'all who kind of identified the insight and went back as a feedback loop to kind of talk and mitigate those concerns that the HCPs had. So it's kind of a team effort. It's not just how you capture the insight, it's way more nuanced, which I have questions for. So I don't want to kind of include everything in this discussion, this particular question. So, okay, very nice. So now we have spoken about how to capture insights, how to identify it. Once the insight is captured and collected, what processes or frameworks help convert them into strategic direction or decision making?
Yes, that's a great question. And that's also a challenge that we often
Mm-hmm.
face. So I would just recommend that, first of all, we want to make sure that, as I mentioned previously, we have an insights loop. So it's a continuous cycle of gathering, analyzing, and refining insights so that we're not doing the same thing as time goes by. Early stage questions we may not have to ask them again, right? So we want to make sure that our questions and our insight gathering processes are also updated. And we want to utilize strategic decision-making frameworks. So frameworks like a SWOT analysis or data
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, they
Mm-hmm.
help translate insights into actionable strategies. And in a quickly evolving world, we want to utilize technology. So AI-driven analytics are becoming increasingly important, and leveraging machine learning to identify patterns and trends that inform medical and commercial strategies should be prioritized, so that when we're analyzing these insights, the majority of our time is not used on just analyzing, but it's looking at the next step on how these analyzed insights can actually be transformed into strategic action items.
Yeah, very meaningful, very meaningful. So I'll kind of I'm getting tempted to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Um, can you share an example where field insights led to a tangible change in clinical, medical, or commercial strategy?
Sure, sure. I have a lot of examples that I could share, so I'll try to think of some simple ones. So, as I said, previously, for example, in one asset where there were concerns about infection, we tried to mitigate those as we moved forward. But I think that in terms of field insights driving strategy change, I mentioned that we launched an asset in Japan ahead of the US and EU. So our insights were extremely critical because it was a large asset launch, and we wanted to make sure that those could add to a successful launch in the US and EU as well. So I think that when we tried to launch our asset, there were a lot of concerns about, as I said, the safety and efficacy profile for that particular asset. The price was an issue, so reimbursement at the state or municipality level were also concerning. How to identify appropriate patients, especially in a rare disease
Yeah. Hmm.
asset, were extremely challenging because it's hard to differentiate when you're diagnosing, and also the imaging modality, the infrastructure was not up to the level that we preferred. So what we did was we were very proactive about asking questions. So we evaluated their understanding about the safety and efficacy. We tried to identify the roadblocks in terms of diagnosis. Either would it be the suspicion index, or would it be the lack of imaging, or was it not the lack of specialized experts who could interpret the
Hmm.
data, or was it the price itself? Or was it anything else? Were the patients concerned, or were they not able to even swallow the drug appropriately? So we had a lot of
Hmm.
questions that we asked. As time went by, some of them were mitigated, at least through aggressive education. So the safety efficacy profile was well understood at a certain point, but still there were questions about reimbursement. So the price was a bit high for a rare disease asset. So how can we, make sure that the price would be appropriate to enable appropriate access to patients in need? We educated the HCPs about the pricing system, because the pricing system in Japan at that time was that if you hit a certain volume, the price will go down. So if you
Hmm.
diagnose appropriately, and if patients get access, then the price will be lower and lower, so that it would not be a burden anymore. So we educated that compliantly, because at the same time, we did not want to give the impression that we are, asking them to prescribe. We wanted to trust their judgment. And then once those price concerns were mitigated, we worked together to shape the diagnosis landscape in terms of, imaging, echocardiography, and whatnot. So that actually drive to change in terms of also the sales force too, because then we could create, M2M medical to medical data, but also the sales force could use data that was more tailored to the need of the HCPs as well. And then the commercial team could also build their strategies based upon the evolving situation and changing levels of understanding. So I think that these are extremely important. I think as time goes by, these days, AI-driven analytics is also an important key, and companies are extremely increasingly streamlining the insights capture process. So that would lead to faster strategic adjustments in the education and also engagement. So I think that there would be multiple examples, but as you can see, the insights acquisition loop is always, it should be very dynamic, and we should be proactive in the process.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting story. So it is kind of tempting. I'm tempted to ask this question again based on your response. When we say that there is, you have kind of mitigated insights, what is the percentage of insights that gets mitigated?
So insights being mitigated, meaning, how much are actually useful insights? Is that your question? Oh.
No, I mean that, okay, insights are identified and then they are captured, they are submitted to the medical strategy team. And you see, like you said, you came in and you saw that it was constantly every year the insights were the same insights, but insights were captured. So out of those, what is the percentage that gets mitigated or solved?
I see, I see. So that's a great question. I think it's hard to kind of have a standardized approach or answer to that question, because every asset and every team in every country is different. I think that what I can say with confidence is that every team wants to make sure that that ratio is as high as possible and as close to 100% as we can. I think that ideally, that ratio should increase as time goes by, because then you would have, built a good relationship, you would understand the stakeholders better, and then you would have had established a good data generation loop and also a communication loop as well. It would be challenging to generalize, but I would say that I feel as if the baseline is going up as the capabilities increase, and also the time lag, let's say, to approaching 100% is getting shortened because of our utilization of technology. And I think that the positive signal as well is that the MSLs and the colleagues on the field, and also their leaders too, are becoming more familiar in using new technology and being more proactive, so that it's becoming, I think, more synergistic, and the collaboration and the speed and the quality are all improving.
Yeah, I hope so. And this is good news for all of us. So I'll pivot to something that you already mentioned about using AI and technology. And I want to ask you, what role does digital technology or AI play in modernizing insights, capture, synthesis, and visualization across the organization or within medical affairs team? Whichever way you feel comfortable, answer it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that just before I answer your question, I think that AI seems to be like a double-edged sword these days, because it seems like AI is evolving so rapidly. Just recently, I think Google announced how we can even create movies using new technology. So it's very rapidly evolving. But in terms of AI, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that AI is an extremely useful tool that will evolve at a speed that is faster than any human can follow. But as human beings, we want to make sure that we go above that, and we're aware of how we can use it as a tool, and be cautious to not be controlled or dictated by AI. I think that should be a very common understanding. And then there's a lot of fear towards AI that I think that through proper knowledge and through confidence, through upskilling ourselves, should be managed. So in terms of AI and digital transforming insights, so what we've found that has been effective is automating data collection. So AI-powered platforms, they streamline the capture of insights from KOL interactions. Um, when permitted, we can invite an AI scriber in a virtual meeting, or if the doctor is okay, we can use it in a face-to-face meeting as well. And I think that everyone has experienced how fast it is. Previously, we would have to look at our notes and then we try to remember it, and it took a lot of time. But now it's just real time. It's very efficient.
Mhm.
And also, enhancing synthesis and visualization is very important because I've seen analytic tools that help identify trends, and also, the correlation of our interactions between actually implementing strategies. So, for example, with AI, we can analyze how many minutes you've interacted, what type of doctors you've interacted with, what is their, topic of interest. You can rate it, and then, also my interaction or explanation time. I think even these days, you're able to analyze through the tone of the voice how much the doctor's understanding has improved. So these are very useful tools. I also went to an agency summit recently, and I realized that the analysis of insights is improving in leaps and bounds to the degree that our users ourselves have to upskill to utilize these tools. And I think that AI is helpful to improve real-time decision making. So AI-driven dashboards can enable medical affairs teams to act on insights more efficiently, and real-time devices are also being developed and used, and it saves time and energy and enables improved interaction. So I think that, let's say that all of these insights are captured, analyzed, and in a very easily visual format, then our role is to make sure that we have an understanding of the business priorities, and also we're ahead of that to make sure that this analyzed data is alive, and it helps us to make the best decision as we move forward.
Yeah, yeah. These this response was so meaningful. Um, yeah, that helps me move to the next question. And this is a question that I think your field team has told you. I have experienced this in my consulting career as well. And this sometimes it kind of pushes me to think more harder. And that's why I'm presenting this question to you. How can medical affairs close the loop with field teams and other stakeholders to ensure insights lead to action and that teams see the impact of their work? You know how the field team, the MSL captures the insight, then presents it to the medical strategy team, and then they do not ever hear back what happened with the insight that they captured. And the medical strategy team takes that. If it falls through the crack, it does. If it is used or leveraged for strategy, it does. But the team members, like from the field team to the medical strategy team, every stakeholder doesn't get to see the impact. And how do we do a better job in really keeping this loop dynamic? Yes, but also informing the stakeholders involved in the process, and how do we educate them better in this process as it evolves?
Yes, that's a great question. And I think that that's a problem or a challenge, let's put it that way, that every single group experiences sometime in their career. I hope that people do not experience it, but I think the only
Well,
case that would happen is that it's a very small group. But what I've noticed as the organization becomes larger, there are a lot of silos in the organization. So there
yeah.
were silos between field, silos between office, and silos between commercial and regulatory and other functions. So from my experience, what has worked is that feedback mechanisms are extremely important. So first of all, we want to regularly update the field teams themselves on how their insights can influence strategy. So it's important that they understand how they influence strategies, and they can also obtain feedback and strategic guidance, because I think MSLs feel frustrated when they gather insights and they don't know what's happening after that, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
we want to make sure that they understand what's happening. And then if I can go to maybe a slightly technical aspect, so we want to use integrated platforms. A lot of them enable, let's say, not only the field colleagues, but also the office colleagues, sometimes when compliant marketing colleagues, to see what's happening real time. So we want to use centralized systems to track insights. And we want to make sure that, we minimize redundancy and we maximize synergy of the activities. And we're not even I think you may have experienced it in your career, but at the same day, a medical colleague and a sales colleague are meeting the same doctor, talking about the same
Yes.
thing, and the doctor is saying, "I talked to you just a few minutes ago. Why are you asking me the same questions again?" So we don't want that to happen. And then
Yes.
I think that cross-functional alignment and good communication is extremely important, and that's where the role of a good leader is important, because leaders, from my perspective, I always try to be very proactive to commercial, and then as a result, commercial is also proactive to us, and they share their insights appropriately. But some leaders may tend to just want to be very, siloed or insular, and that doesn't really help collaboration. So, proactive communication, transparency, and agility is extremely important for maximizing impact. Another thing that I think that we should be aware of and try to do is to showcase our achievements as well. So I think medical colleagues are not as strong as commercial colleagues oftentimes in showcasing what we've done, because it's a little bit hard to quantify, I feel.
Yeah.
But we should
Yeah.
try to be as proactive and share. We may have a lot of publications, and from commercial, it's just a publication, so what? But
So what? Exactly.
how
The
to,
metrics, the
yes,
metrics of demonstrating value is such a huge challenge. I agree.
we want to share those and make sure that we showcase them and educate them. An ad board is not just a meeting where we sit down over, sometimes dinner, sometimes not, but it's actually an opportunity to build a relationship and gather insights. A publication can be used for M2M, but even if possible for commercial materials. Our presentations at congresses can be,
Yeah.
followed by a large audience, and that can change their understanding and behavior as well. So we want to be able to be confident to showcase our achievements.
Honey, you are touching upon all the aspects that I feel so passionately about. And it really thrills me to hear something so relevant from a leader like you. I don't want to end this episode, but we have to respect time, and I have reached the end. And this is the last question that I'm going to present to you. What are the top two things medical affairs leaders should focus on to mature their insights management capabilities in the next 12 to 18 months?
Sure. So I think that number one, we should try to enhance our understanding of AI and not be intimidated of that, and not in any way instill a sense of fear to the organization, which is a real thing. So I think that we should work hard. I'm trying also to keep up with the speed of AI, to invest in my personal knowledge, and also, search what options we have and invest in appropriate tools to improve the data synthesis and analysis and utilization, right? So I think that AI, it's a hot keyword, but we want to make sure that we're above that and we're confident in using it. Also, I think that, and this would not be limited to the next 12 or 18 months, but I think that a lot of leaders should be able to strengthen the cross-functional collaboration and communication, because in large organizations, there's still a lot of silos that we have to break down. And we want to establish structured workflows to ensure that insights are effectively integrated into strategic planning and everyone is on the same page, so that, and we have to be agile in that, so that our commercial colleague is not saying something while we're gathering insights about a different perspective. So those would be things that I think are very important in the near future.
Beautifully put and beautifully ended. Thank you, Honey, for giving us such an informative session. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you so much, Bharati. I enjoyed it so much. I hope it was helpful. And I really hope that the audience enjoys it and finds it useful as well. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much again. To my viewers and listeners, I will say thank you for tuning into the Medical Affairs Dialogues. I hope in this episode, Honey and I have put together questions which are relevant to you. And as you saw, that I think through this discussion, we were able to push you to rethink about insights management in a 360-degree view. Like when you take the insight from the field, then it goes through transformation and becomes a part of the strategy. And then it translates into producing value and impact overall. So I hope this episode will be valuable for my friends, my colleagues from the medical affairs professionals and the medical affairs professionals who are working in insights management daily. With that, we end this session. Until next time, stay tuned, stay informed, and stay engaged.